Hello and welcome to episode 216 of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, from West Coast, Best Coast, Emma. How are you doing?
Yeah. Good. Can't complain. Looking forward to this next discussion.
Then, from a land with no laws, Chris Nicolay. How are you
Oh,
doing?
I'm doing good. It's hot. It's toasty. I'm sweating.
I concur.
Can you see? I'm glistening.
And then, the hoot and how, Shanine. How are you doing?
Doing good. Same as Chris. It's right roasty in here. Almost as hot as these takes are about to be.
Speaking of takes, this week we're adding phase 4 to our MCU tier list, asterisk for the projects that aren't out yet. But um, and so we'll go over, talk through our current list, and then share our thoughts on the 13 phase 4 projects that we have had so far. Before we get into that, as always, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. You can join our Discord server or shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Watch live on Twitch, 6:45 Mountain Time, Monday nights, and find our videos over on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And then you can also go over to Redbubble and check out our store. Okay. Before we get ready for these scalding takes, Emma, what have you been up to?
Let's see, this last week, the big exciting thing that I've been up to is I've been playing the third God of War game. I'm super into that. I've been wanting to go back and play the older games because I hadn't when the 2018 one came out, and I did the typical Wikipedia rundown, what had happened previously. So I'm playing the third one, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's definitely old, if you will, but it's still fun. So I've been enjoying that. And yeah, a lot of fun.
Yes. Chris, what have you been up to?
Only thing of note is I tried to start watching Halo. It's it's fine.
When I think of you, I definitely think of the biggest Halo fanboy. It's
I'm
your
a
type
big
of
fan
video
of the
game.
first two because they were campaign driven. And the story was actually really good. I remember I loved playing co-op. Um, but after that, I stopped caring because it's just became that FPS competitive thing. But yeah, the I don't know. I think the series is trying to figure out what it is. I don't know. It's fine.
Shanine, what have you been up to?
I have been binging season 3 of Never Have I Ever, which is Mindy Kaling's Netflix show. It's like classified as a teen comedy drama, but seriously, you have to watch it. It's so good, and it's way better than you expect. It's about way more than just high school. It makes me cry like almost every episode. It's so good.
I've heard really good things, and I like Mindy from obviously like The Office, so I've been meaning to get to it and just have never gotten there. I'm happy to hear that you like it.
You should. I binged through the first 2 seasons again before it came out just because I was so excited about it.
Nice.
So
I have
good.
seen the first 2 seasons, and they are pretty good. Very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
I mean, yes, but in a good way.
Yes, but it's also like drama. It's not like just exact. It's like the drama makes sense, which is one of my favorite things. It's like, well, if that would cause a lot of drama, okay. Whereas like other teen dramas are just like, I'm over dramatic because I'm a teenager.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
make problems out of nothing, and you're
Yeah.
like, wait, this is not a problem people have.
Can I just slap you? Because I feel like that would solve a lot of things. Whereas this
Yeah.
one's like,
They're all real.
there's things
problems.
happening here.
Yeah.
Then for me, on Saturday night over on Cameron Plus Deanna, we had some friends over online and in person, and we played some Dungeons and Dragons.
Woo!
And so my friend Steve, who guested on one of our magic things for Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, DM'd for us. And then Carrie and Corey, previously of Faith, Trust, and Pixie Dust, came and hung out. And so we played a great game. I played a paladin for the first time. It was also my first time playing a level 10 character.
Yay!
And so I didn't necessarily do a lot, but I think that's because our damage dealers just like one shot everything. So, you know, I only needed to heal somebody one time, and then we just let everyone else deal damage. And
So we are playing Curse of Strahd like casually. We haven't played since a couple weeks now, but we split the party like right away, almost.
always the best call.
Yep. And me and one of the other players pretty much soloed a bunch of druids, and
And we soloed Strahd at level 1. Got him.
we're level 3 currently. I'm just like, and my ranger's a little cocky, but he's also turning everyone to pyromaniacs. It's the best.
You know,
I'm like, fire solves a lot of problems around here.
Win, doesn't it?
yeah. You got big spiders, burn the house down. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
There's nothing a little casual arson won't fix.
I mean, that's
Cameron.
the first thing I did was try to burn down Death House as a character.
Are you then saying that as a paladin you weren't one of the damage dealers?
I couldn't like get close to people to deal damage to them. I did knock out. I killed like the mini boss for us. It didn't help that we also talked a way out of the final fight. So like, so you know, like, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll be doing stuff like that again. Always great to play. But yeah, that is what I've been up to. If you're hanging out, let us know what you've been up to and talk about some stuff over in the post show. But yeah, let's get into our main topic. We are adding Phase 4 to our MCU tier list. The way that the tiers work is this. In S tier, we have the amazing films that everyone should watch. Currently, we have Iron Man, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. Then we have A tier. These are great, something that most people should see. We have Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I can't read the text, so I'm just having to guess based off of box art. Ant-Man, Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Black Panther. Then we have B tier. Great, has some ups and downs. This is Iron Man 2, Thor, Avengers Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Spider-Man Far From Home. And then in C tier, these are meh, they are a film. We have Hulk, Iron Man 3, Thor, and Captain Marvel. And then in D tier, currently empty, we have Why Does This Exist? And then we also have our unwatched, should only one of us have seen it. Don't think that's going to be coming up, but here we are. Okay, how we feeling? We ready?
Let's do this.
Okay. So we are going to be going in release order for this, just as a heads up for everyone. For the TV shows, we are going to be counting basically the date of the first episode. And so that will color our order, just so everyone is aware. So kicking off Phase 4, scrolled past it, we have WandaVision, which blends a classic sitcom style with the goings on of the MCU after Avengers Endgame, as Wanda and Vision live an ideal suburban life. And so, Emma, we'll start this one off with you. What did you think of WandaVision?
Honestly, for a first step into TV from typically film, this one sits at an S tier for me. They did a fantastic job with WandaVision. They carried through her story arc and added to her personality, and like for a first real step in terms of the MCU and not just the Netflix stuff, like It was super strong, and I gushed over like everything they did camera wise, editing wise. Like it was so beautifully done and super strong. So this one for me personally sits at an S tier.
For me, this will get into some stuff we'll talk about later. WandaVision is the only Disney Plus show that I've seen twice. And I really enjoyed Wanda. I love Agatha. I love that kind of bucking the normal trend. The villain lives. Um, I like that we finally get to say Scarlet Witch. Um, and honestly, my biggest complaint about WandaVision and the thing that keeps it out of S tier for me is that I honestly just wanted more of the sitcom. Like, I get that they have to go Marvel and they have to have all the fighting and stuff, but man,
Do
I
they though?
loved the sitcom.
They don't have to do
Um,
anything.
and so fair. And so, yeah, so for me, WandaVision is A tier because of that. Chris, what do you got?
For me, WandaVision is also an A tier. Yeah, like it's very experimental, which I loved, but they could have taken that experimentation just a little further.
Put a pin in that for later.
Yeah, right. Before I go further, but character development and everything, like that's also the reason why it's not S tier for me. Though is with experimental things, it's hard for me to say this is a must watch. Um, so it is a very solid A. For me, it was very good.
Shanine?
All right, I was so excited for this show. Scarlet Witch and Vision are probably the two characters that I'm most familiar with from the comics. So I was just pumped right from the get-go. And I was 100% hooked from that very first episode. Like, I agree with Cameron. It could have been sitcoms going through the decades for the whole show, and I would have been happy. Like, it was so great, and they were doing something different, and it was working, and it was so good. And there was weird things going on in the background, and it was mysterious and just so good. And I loved the development of Wanda and S tier. I loved it so much.
Just a moment.
I had to like slide to the left.
Oh, where do I go? Right here. Oops. You want to this one. Plus.
While Chris is getting that, we'll go ahead and jump into our next one, which is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Following the events again of Avengers Endgame, we get the story of Sam taking on the mantle of Captain America, as well as Bucky, as you know, the Winter Soldier. We also get introduced to a new Captain America wannabe who ends up becoming a U.S. agent. And if that's not the worst name I've ever heard, it's pretty close. So, for me, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is C tier. There are parts of this that I really liked. I really liked what it has to say about race. I liked the weight that Sam feels with taking up the mantle of Captain America. It made that feel real, of like what Captain America means to this world outside of just being someone that has helped like stop some battles. Like, there's actually weight, and I really thought that was really cool. Overall, I feel like Flag Smashers and that whole storyline is really weak. I like those characters, or like, you know, like the two of them that really get character development. But overall, they just feel pretty weak. I think there was supposed to be some pandemic themed things that, considering that this came out in 2021, got cut. I don't know if that's confirmed, but that's something that I've heard before. But yeah, sits at a C from me. Chris?
for me, this is actually an A tier for me. Um, in the sense because of those themes regarding race, it sums up all my problems with wanting Captain America to be good. Like it's just all social structures. I'm like, oh, Captain America, I'm sorry. Um, but Falcon Winter Soldier, I feel like it just summarized all my feelings regarding Captain America. So it was an A tier for me.
Janine?
This is an A tier for me as well. Y'all know how I feel about my Steve Rogers, and I feel like this passed on the mantle of Captain America very well. You also know how I feel about movies pushing political agendas at the expense of the story. Looking at you, Captain Marvel, you did it wrong. Um, Falcon and the Winter Soldier did it perfectly, where they had things to say that were politically relevant, but kept it in the structure of the story and still had a story to tell about their characters. And it was good. It's real good.
Emma?
It was fine. I I mean, it was fine. It exists in my head. I'm with Cameron on this one. It kind of just sits at a C tier. It wasn't terrible, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, okay, um,
White people. Just
okay. That's all I really have to say about it. I don't really have much to say about it. It just didn't speak to me in any grandiose way that other Marvel stuff has. So, D.
D.
Wow.
Why does this exist?
No, C. Sorry.
Okay. It's like,
That's extreme.
I said C.
Say, I heard C, but I was
Yeah.
like,
I heard C initially,
I heard
and then
D.
D.
No,
And
it's
then I heard
not a
D
D.
suddenly. I
It's
was
not
like,
that
whoa.
terrible, guys.
Also, shout out to Bucky and Zemo.
mhm.
Forgot to say that, but they
Yeah.
were great.
Speaking of things that I forgot to say, we also have a veto rule. We each have the ability to veto one final placement for a property. We can either move it up or down one tier, and you can veto someone's veto. So, forgot to say that at the beginning. Okay, let's get into number 3. Loki, our third Disney Plus release, following the events of Endgame, but also kind of the first Avengers movie. Loki gets taken out of time and starts working with the TVA to track down variants of himself and uncover a plot to keep the sacred timeline sacred. Chris, what'd you think?
Loki is a B for me. It was really good. I definitely enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Some good things going for it, but you know, there's not like a strong message. It's just fun. It's just fun Loki stuff. I did like all the Lokis, and I did like Owen Wilson. Show has a lot going for it.
Didn't say wow, D tier.
Yeah, that's also that's one reason. It's like
Wow.
Owen Wilson need to lean a little more into the Owen Wilson. Get some extra for the fun to really have that impact on me.
Janine, what'd you think?
Loki was the biggest disappointment of the initial Disney Plus shows for me. Y'all know I love Loki.
I've never heard you say that.
Seriously.
I love him. And I was so looking forward to it. And this show broke my heart. The first episode I was in and I thought it was going to be great. And then the second episode, I started to have some concerns. And then I think by the third episode, I was out. and it never got me back after that, and it was real disappointing. I just wanted a better story for my boy, and I don't know, they didn't take him on as strong of a journey as they should have. I guess it has a lot of relevant things for the things that came after it.
The debate and suspense.
I can't. It hurts me to place it low because it's low key, but also I didn't like it. See.
Okay. Emma.
I quite enjoyed it as a big Loki person, personally. So, kind of on the flip side of Shanine in that regard. This sits at a solid B for me. It's like they do make some, story decisions or whatever that are like, you didn't really need to go there or whatever. But overall, it does like it's a great representation of this, you know, constant thread of a person throughout Marvel. And it's a deeper look at their personality and like what they would do in a situation when you've essentially got a chaotic neutral character, if you will. Um, what would they do when they're faced with such a decision? Um, it's pretty strong overall, but could have been better. So a solid B for me.
Loki's a low A for me. Like I really enjoyed it. I liked the silliness that we got to have in a lot of the episodes. But to what Shanine was saying, like there's definitely a lot of stuff that like I wish they would have done. Like Loki has a very quick hill turn from being in like the villain in Avengers trying to take over the earth for like with an army from Thanos to seeing how his life plays out and then instantly like being all in for this like this stuff. Um and I wish that that was a little bit better developed. um I really liked the casting for this pretty much all around. This has the best jump scare in the MCU as well, so like I'm not a horror fan, but um you can't deny that Miss Minutes popping up and getting you. And so, and then He Who Remains was super cool.
Yeah.
I really liked the introduction of Kang, and I'm really excited for what that's going to mean for Quantumania, future MCU stuff. Now that we know about Phase 5 as well, or Phase 6, I guess technically. So I really liked that as well. I like the villain that's not just here to punch you. And so this is one too that I hope will age really well as it starts to tie in with more and more stuff. Okay, number 4, Black Widow. Shanine, what'd you think? Did I specifically time this or order this so that you would get Black Widow? Yes, I did.
Black Widow. I mean, we were waiting for her movie for so long.
Years.
Too long. They did her so dirty. I'm real upset about it. I have so many questions. Like, not even the special effects were good all of the time. And it's like, why didn't you care? Just care about her. I don't know. There was enough in it to like keep me watching it. And I thought it was okay as I was watching it. And then I sat there for like 5 minutes after finishing it and then was like, oh no. Like they ruined Taskmaster. The Red Room was not
great.
good. I j- it was all so disappointing, and also not at all what I pictured Budapest being, and that was also a disappointment. It's D. The more I'm thinking about it, the more sad I'm getting.
I should say, I did not actually do the plot. Black Widow is an action-packed spy thriller that follows Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. Yeah, spy thriller.
Spy thriller.
That confronts her past as a spy and the broken relationships. And then it takes place after Captain America: Civil War. And so, Emma, what do you think of Black Widow?
They knew we wanted this. So I don't understand why it exists, because they knew we wanted it, but they didn't do it well at all. This is a D for me as well. I am totally on the same page as Shanine. There are some good quips here and there, some good little moments. It has a couple of good moments between, her and Hawkeye and whoever else or whatever.
Whoever
But
else and whatever, the perfect way of
that
remembering what went on in this movie.
doesn't recover it from in any way, shape, or form. Like, they knew we wanted this. Granted, like, there is some benefit of the doubt in the sense, like, pandemic, but pre-production for this was happening before the pandemic, which makes you question, like, the writing, like, the final script that they filmed in some way, shape, or form comes through in the final product. I know this because I work in the industry. I know how the things work. Yes, there is some wiggle room for pandemic stuff, but that doesn't mean it should just be given, free reign or whatever. It just sits at a D. It was purely fan service that was not done well. It's one thing to do fan service and do it well, and another thing to do it just because it's demanded. And this was done, I feel, because it was demanded and they had no heart in it whatsoever. So this is a D.
Coming into our Black Widow spoiler cast, which hopefully I've already put up in the corner somewhere. I was relatively high on this movie. And kind of to Shanine's point, I think the more that I thought about this, the lower and lower it got from me. I think there are some really good moments. I think, as we said in that,
Cameron, pause. We are switched around on the Twitch, you and I.
Oh, yeah, our names are swapped.
Okay, continue.
Good
Just had
call,
to
Emma.
point that out.
Thank you, Wim.
My
Good
bad.
catch. Appreciate you. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed like the family side of this. Yelena is an awesome character that I'm super happy is a part of the MCU that we're going to get to see more of. But overall, a lot of this movie just isn't great. I think that there is the skeleton of like a low A, high B movie in here. But then there's just a lot of stuff around it that's not great. It's D tier for me as well. Chris, what do you think?
I know what my theme is for this phase is. Don't market me a spy thriller and not give me a spy thriller. D tier.
It had so much potential. The Black Widow character has so much potential, and it wasn't there. It's so sad. Why?
Yeah. In chat, Bad Gamer Elite says, heck yeah, D at best. It's better than Daredevil with Elektra. You're not wrong there. But I don't think that's something we should judge things on.
That should not be a foundation for grading.
Right. um, that's going to bring us to our next installment of What If? A series of animated episodes, each taking a look at if something had changed and we had a separate timeline. What would have happened? Some of the changes are very big, others of them, not so much. And the idea is then, of course, it all ties together as we fight Vision Ultron, Superior Ultron. I forget the actual name. Who has assembled all of the Infinity Stones and one-shot Thanos. And so, um, Emma, what did you think of What If?
I didn't see it. I have no opinions.
Got him.
Whoop. Moving on.
Moving on. So I'll go next. I strongly disliked What If. I found that the majority of the episodes were boring. There were some really cool shots in this, like some really cool like wallpaper type stuff. But overall, I didn't necessarily enjoy it. I'm excited that we're seeing things like Captain Carter show up in mainline MCU. But overall, a lot of this I didn't really find exciting or engaging. I'm hoping that as they develop this stuff out into like Marvel Zombies and stuff like that, we would get some cooler stuff. And I know that some of the what ifs they wanted to use actually ended up being used for movies later on. So there's that as well. But yeah, What If is a D tier for me. Something that I would not recommend people watch. I'm considering skipping season 2 of it when it comes out. Like, just didn't click with me. Chris, what do you think?
For me, What If is a B. I really enjoyed the stories. I enjoyed this animated take on some of these pieces. I enjoyed seeing I enjoyed just like kind of the shorter form and quick focus on individual characters and random changes within a time series. Yeah, I absolutely enjoy this. It's like, I'm not saying it's for everyone. I think it's really, What If, reason why I really like it is it's definitely geared toward the geekier fans who have deep dived into different timelines or different stories of these characters, and I like being able to see that come to the screen a little bit. And also it's animated, so automatic. Well, it's really well animated in my opinion. So major points for that.
Janine?
I mean, I thought I was gonna be down on What If until I heard your take, but I agree. I like the animation. I think it being a short form is like the only thing that saves it for me, is that at least they were quick. There was some that I liked and some that I did not care for at all, and I have no desire to rewatch it at all. And yeah, kind of debating bothering with season 2 as well, but we'll see. It's a C tier for me.
That will then bring us to our second film. It's crazy we're on like Project 6, but like we're on our second film for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi confronts his past after leaving his father's organization. We get some throwbacks to Iron Man 3, as well as the introduction of, or the reintroduction, I guess, of the Ten Rings as like an actual organization and not just a throwaway joke that ruined Iron Man 3. So I stand by what I said in phase 2. I feel like in every list for me, there's one movie that I'm really debating on what side of the line it falls on. And for that, or for this phase, that movie is Shang-Chi. And I'm putting it in S tier. I love the action of this. I love the way Simu like plays through this, and I love how all of the characters get brought to life. I love the like fight um, thing that they have, like the underground fighting ring that's in a skyscraper and run by his sister. I like all of that. Really, my only complaint about this is that I wish that the
So the
villain
dragon
was
wasn't it? No, I'm just.
um, is that he does not punch the dragon and take its heart to gain the Iron Fist. No, is that I wish
If only.
that, yeah, if only it'd be better than the Iron Fist we got. Ayo.
White savior
Um,
complexes, man.
but I really wish that
Even I hate
the
them, Chris.
villain,
It's okay.
yeah, I really wish that the villain was better at the end. I really just don't like that. It's Win Wu, I believe is his name. Goes through all of this film over thousands of years or 1,000 years as this super intelligent warlord, and then gets tricked by the Dweller in Darkness, and then as literal monsters are stealing people's souls, keeps beating on the thing, listening to the voice, and like that's really the only thing that bothered me about it. But yeah, other than that, I loved this. Like I said, this was teetering on that low as high A for me. But yeah, Chris, what'd you think?
Oh man, I'm 1 second. Shang-Chi. Okay, so it's an S tier. I feel like they took a serious risk with an unknown character, and they did it well. So the reason why this is S tier though is because it's such an important film for the like for representation, and they did a great job. This is honestly this if they would have put the energy they put into this in the Black Widow probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
But also because it was such a passion project for Simu, like after reading the book and reading everything going like leading up to this is also so it's just everyone needs to watch it because within the realm of Hollywood it is an important film. I also absolutely loved all the kung fu like the martial arts choreography because it just beautifully alluded to the kung fu movies of the past. Like there is so many amazing like crouching tiger moments that I am obsessed with. And yeah, so it is definitely an S tier. It's not necessarily the best movie in the MCU, you know, like story and everything like the other S tiers, but because of its representation, it becomes an S tier, and I love that. Although the dragon pissed me off because I'm like, you could have used an Easter dragon at least. Just saying.
Janine, what'd you think?
I really enjoyed Shang-Chi. It was awesome getting to see Simu Liu join the MCU. He crushed it. He's amazing. Love him. I don't know. I think I just have a few complaints that tip it out of S tier for me. It's one of them is just a personal thing. I'm not a fan of Aquafina, so all of the comedic relief was just like irritating for me, and I just
I'm a little with you there.
not great. And then yeah, agreeing with Cameron as well. The villain was like real strong and then kind of at the end. So they could have done better with that, I think. So it's an A tier for me.
Emma?
At this point, I feel like everything's been said. I mean, it is an S tier in my head for a lot of what both Cameron and Chris said. I get Aquafina not being
It's
like
very irritating, actually.
the right person for everyone. I thought she was funny. I enjoyed her character. That's a point in which Shanine and I will forever butt heads on, which
We
is
need to do an Aquafina tier
fine.
list just to see how long Shanine lasts.
Like, totally fine. I get that. Um, Definitely could have gone the ending slash big bad at the end could have used some reworking. Um, but overall, it is a very valuable film to the industry and to the MCU, and they saw the importance in it and they did their best.
I am sad they canceled Shang-Chi's Christmas special.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a thing. It's not a thing anymore.
I didn't know that was going to be a thing.
Now I'm sad. I was not sad.
Yeah.
Y'all should be sad.
But now
I
Be sad
am.
with me.
Wah, wah, wah.
Okay. That is then going to bring us to Eternals, the third movie of this phase, revealing a team that has been here the whole time. Why didn't they help? Because it didn't have to do with the deviants until maybe it did. So the Eternals are a group that we find out are essentially androids created by the Celestials that have been sent to Earth to help nurture it so that the celestial egg that is inside of the planet can grow. Through this, we get an introduction of a pretty big team of characters, and they each have their own thing. Some of them, the thing is much cooler than the others. And so, and then they save the Earth, kind of. There's a giant celestial sticking out that we just won't talk about for the rest of Phase 4. So, Chris, what did you think of Eternals? The dramatics is, what is this, a YouTube apology video?
Same. So this is going to be no edits, guys. No edits
there's
this time.
there's some other things that weren't addressed. It also, like, were the Eternals not affected by the snap? Is it because they're androids? So
Yeah.
we're like synthetic beings not affected by the snap, but they have a lot of, I don't know. There's a lot of questions this movie gave me, and as you mentioned, it wasn't addressed in anything else within the MCU. So I almost still don't believe it's part of the MCU. D tier. Oh no, a fine movie though, but I don't know the point of it. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Shanine, what do you think?
All right, I watched this for the first time last night.
Okay, and I want to pause you there. Literally, one of the things I have been most excited for us doing this tier list is for Shanine to watch Eternals. Like, I am so excited.
Ooh.
Okay. I've seen a lot of complaints on the internet and stuff, and I feel like the internet does not have the right complaints about it. Everyone's all upset about why weren't the Eternals involved in Thanos? And it's yeah, they give a reason that it's not with the deviants, but that's not the real reason. It's because Arishem doesn't care about Earth at all. He's gonna turn it into an egg anyway, so who cares? That's the real reason. There's a real reason. So why are we getting all upset about why they weren't involved in Thanos? We know why.
Yeah, that's true. They tried to throw that caveat in that just didn't make sense for the characters anyway. It's like, you have a perfectly set up reason just by the premise of the movie.
As for the rest of it, it was insanely long for the story that they were telling. It was too long. The quality of the story was bad. I am not at all familiar with the Eternals, but I can tell they did the characters dirty, and they also did the actors dirty. there are a lot of extremely talented people they had in this movie that did not have an opportunity to shine in any way. It was disappointing. And like, I feel like at the end when Faustus is like making his devicey thingy for them to all do whatever, and they're like, is it going to work? And he's like, it'll have to, is basically what the whole, like, how they threw the movie together. They just like chucked a bunch of things into the Eternals and were like, will it work? It'll have to. That's what people are watching now. Here you go. I was not interested until like the last 5 minutes of the movie when Jon Snow is like, I have a complicated family history too. And then I was like, oh, who are you? Now I'm interested. So
you're telling us that now?
Yeah.
He's the king in the north. That's what it is. That's his complicated family history.
The next picture on
I don't want it.
Thrones and Marvel, guys.
The post credits scene, the first one was confusing, and it made me probably irrationally upset. And then the second one was interesting and makes me excited for future things.
I don't even remember them.
They could have not done Eternals and just given us that end credit scene somewhere else. D tier.
Emma?
So I said this in our little group chat, but this is the first Marvel movie I did not go to see in theaters since the Avengers. So everything from the Avengers up until the Eternals I'd seen in theaters, most of them on opening night. Because the trailer for this, well, okay, aside from that is the exception, that is whatever. Because the trailer, I could not mentally comprehend, like Chris, that this was a Marvel movie.
Felt like a DC movie.
All completely new faces. Just did not fit. Did feel like a DC movie in a bad way. Like, I literally, and then I didn't see it. I didn't watch it until like maybe 6 months after release or whatever. It just, I don't know why they made it. Like, what was the, like, for a franchise that's known for making all of these individual movies that all exist in the same world and have this huge world building thing, they then come up with this and hand this thing to the audience, and it's like, how does this relate to any of it? I don't know. It just was so weird and unmemorable. I mean, obviously at this point I'm also D tier for this one. Like, plus they were trying to introduce 8 different characters in one movie, 8 main characters. That is super hard to do well. When you're introducing that many main characters, you have to like spend a lot of time on that, and it just did not hit. So this is a D tier for me.
In chat, Bad Gamer Elite says, I mean, meh, even in the comics. So I'll say on my end, I think this is one of the prettiest movies. There's a lot of shots in this that I think are so well done. I love the costuming. I love the suits for these characters. At a base level, I really like a lot of them. I really like Cersei. I like Icarus. I like Kingo. I like Punchy Dude. Thena is interesting. She kind of doesn't get a good treatment because of how her whole "I'm being affected by the weight of my memories" things work. And same with Pixie. Um, is that what it is? Is that
Right.
Sprite? Thank you. Pixie's an X-Men or mutant. Um, um, it's a C tier for me. I think one of the big things that I've said is that I really wish that this, and I've seen this take before, like I really wish this was a Disney Plus series. Like this really feels like we should have gotten more time with these characters.
It would have done better
Yeah.
as a Disney Plus series.
We could have episodes focused on them in like pairs rather than all of them at once. Like the whole premise is that they've split up. And so like we easily could have tied that together as part of the them coming back together story. And yeah, this is one that like, again, I feel like this movie is a guilty pleasure for me because I actually like really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it's good, but like I really enjoyed this movie. To me, it's this is like junk food, where like it's not great, but I enjoyed it. It does. In chat, Bad Gamer Elite says, "Who do they think they are, X-Men?" And that's kind of what scares me about this.
Then he follows up with, "I'd rather watch Inhumans."
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say I think that's crazy talk, but you know, um, um, this it scares me for how they're going to handle whenever they add mutants formal or X-Men specifically into the MCU. I'm definitely worried about that. I think one of the weakest things for a lot of X-Men movies are them introducing them too fast. And that's one of the things that does scare me about this. Again, I love a lot of the characters. I can't wait for Cersei to show back up. But I also am not like specifically looking forward to it. Like I feel like I just said that back, like I said the same thing in both two different ways or opposite things the same. But I'm looking forward to when like some of these characters show up, but I don't care when that happens. I'm not in a hurry for it. So yeah, C tier from me. Next, and I believe we're on Shanine. We have Hawkeye, a series focused on Clint Barton, as he's in New York for Christmas, trying to get back to his family, where he meets up with Kate Bishop, who is a archer who has been aspiring to be like him since she saw him fight in the Battle of New York. Shanine, what'd you think?
All right. Well, Hawkeye was like my first favorite superhero when I watched Avengers, so I've loved him for a very long time. This show was not great for me. I feel like there's a lot of individual elements that I really liked. There was a lot that I was not a fan of. I really enjoyed how they introduced Clint's hearing impairment and had that be a big part of the story a lot. I liked that. Loved getting to see Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the highlight of the show for sure. And seeing Yelena again, love her. She's great, sassy, all good. What I did not love was Kate Bishop. I don't know, she was just supposed to be like this regular person who was good at archery, and suddenly she's like holding her own against Yelena and Kingpin, and that was not believable in the slightest. So kind of ruined the show overall for me. So it's C.
Emma, what'd you think?
Admittedly, I've only seen 2 episodes of Hawkeye. Hawkeye has always been a bit boring to me, admittedly. So of my 2 episode run, say it sits at a B. I got bored and just left. It wasn't terrible,
What
but I
an
got bored and I
endorsement.
left.
What in yeah.
But
That's
still
that.
B. Interesting.
Yeah. Um
It's not great, but it's not terrible. I got bored and I left. Period. End of sentence.
so for me, I really enjoyed a lot of Hawkeye. I feel like that's what I've said as my introduction for a lot of these. I liked that there's not really any like large scale stakes for this. I love small stories like that. That's one of the things that I'm really hoping that we continue to get more of in the MCU. Like we get a lot of these cosmic world-ending threats, but I love when we can get a story that's just about how these affect one person, and then kind of how that ripples out from them. Um, I pretty much agree with everything Shanine said, with the exception that I really liked Kate Bishop. I definitely, like, again, I completely agree with what you're calling out about her going up against Elena and going up against Kingpin, especially. Like I could get behind the idea that Elena is pulling her punches, but like Kingpin's not. Like it's like I 100% agree with you there. And so for me, this sits at a B. Yeah, happy to see Elena like that. I feel like that probably gives it a letter grade. The mac and cheese scene on its own probably bumped this up for me, but yeah, this is a B. Chris, what'd you think?
I think it was a better spy thriller than Black Widow.
Got him. Got him.
But in reality, it
I'll
really
agree
was.
with you there.
Kate
It's
Bishop
a
is wandering around,
two-episoder,
a much
you
better
know?
spy and more thrillery. Like we're trying to figure out who the villain is in the series, and like sort through everything. You're making all these assumptions. They did a really good job in that, in my opinion. I will agree. Yeah, Kate Bishop, a little more OP than. It's like, oh, pretty much had a regular life for the most part, but suddenly pulling off all this, a little more unbelievable. But also, she had to fit in right in there with Hawkeye. It made me wonder why we don't actually have a Marvel's Broadway show. There's...
I would go watch Rogers the Musical in a second.
I think all of us would.
like someone write out the whole thing and make it a production. I will change my mind immediately about theater. It was, yeah, like with Cameron, not like major world stakes, but that's what made it a lot of fun. Kind of, I liked kind of seeing some of the mundane aspects of this post flick world, like everyone, like just seeing New York as it is currently. Like it's like, look, for the most part life has returned to normal and these people are celebrities now. So yeah, it is a solid B for me.
So then that will bring us to the third installment of the Spider-Man film franchise with Spider-Man No Way Home. We have multiverse shenanigans. We have, I say Tom. We have Peter Parker. I don't know why I just completely like, I went to Tom Hiddleston.
Yes, totally the right actor there.
Like that's where I went. We have Peter Parker and friends trying to get into college after the events, literally right after the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. We have a lot of drama around that. And of course, instead of making a call to the university to ask them to reconsider, he goes to Doctor Strange and has him begin a spell that would erase everyone's memory.
Because that would
spell,
be so much easier, right?
Right. When you have friends that are mages, everything looks like a spell. And so
Sorcerer Supremes, okay.
Well, he's not Sorcerer
That's
Supreme.
right, he's not right now.
And
He
so,
got blipped out of existence.
yeah, things don't go well, and powerful villains from Spider-Man's pasts begin to show up. Spider-Man's S
Plural.
apostrophe. There we go. To clarify that. And then we, of course, get some other Spider-Men that come and hang out. Emma, what'd you think?
This is the fan service Black Widow should have been, but wasn't. This was fantastic, in my opinion. Yes, it was fan service through and through, but it was fan service done well, and it was what we all wanted to see. And it was the kind of thing we wanted to see. Well, for the most part, I say.
I feel like it was the fan
Giving
service
Chris.
3 out of the 4 of us wanted to see. I have a
Yeah.
feeling based on
Chris
previous
doesn't
conversations.
Excluding Chris for this one. It's what we as the general population, the majority of people wanted to see. And it was done well, and it was very enjoyable. Lots of great quips, lots of heart, lots of soul. This for me sits at a strong A. Yeah. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah. I feel like my intros to these are always super biased. This is like S tier for me. I love this movie so much. I feel the thing that really impresses me about this movie is that I feel like this is the type of thing for as a fan service that like should not have worked. But I feel like every beat hits. I love that we get Charlie Cox back as Daredevil. He's a really good lawyer. And I love a lot of the stuff that goes on. Again, I think that this does what Spider-Man needs of being a good Spider-Man story and being a good Peter Parker story. We have the worlds collide. I do like this like goofiness that exists here where like literally the first thing that like he gets asked is like, well, why didn't you like, why was this your first guess instead of calling them? And so I really like that of just like, that's like peak high school. Like that's the type of dumb that's like, yes, we need the plot to happen. But also like, that's definitely something that I would feel like high school superheroes would do. They would just go straight to, I have friends with powers and they can help me. And so I love getting to see old villains come back. Of course, hit the hype of the new Spider-Man or the previous Spider-Man returning, kind of them each getting their moment. Andrew Garfield saving Zendaya gets me. And so, yeah, S tier for me. Chris, hope you're ready.
This is a C tier movie for me. Kind of the plot line was done better into the Spider-Verse. The climax and ending toward the back end of that is the stakes are just too major for any one person, especially going out of this movie without any support. Pisses me off more than anything. Because it feels like Grey's Anatomy kind of drama, and I hate that. It's like no one could go through that much trauma and just be okay. I don't care how heroic you are. That's messed up. I don't know. It was fun. It's fine. You know, it was fun seeing seeing the 3 Spider-Mans and everything. You know, but I just have so many problems with, it's like, oh, okay, so Doctor Strange is being very brash. That's kind of within his thing, but also like he's also very calculated. So there's an aspect of that of like, how did we get into this situation? I'm just like, oh, yeah, we rewrote these characters because we needed a plot device. Yeah, it's fine.
Janine.
S tier. I went into this movie with the highest of expectations, hearing all of the multiversal rumors, and I believed every single one of them and was going to get my heart absolutely crushed if they did not do it. And they did all of it. My Charlie Cox was there, and I was super excited. And then you see a Spider-Man in the alleyway that is not Tom Holland, and I was like, it is happening. And it happened, and it was amazing, and the chemistry of the three Spider-Mans was so good. They were just like sweet and hilarious together, and I loved it. And I just, everything about it, it was 100% fan service, and it was 100% what I wanted. It was so great. It was so great. I also appreciate that it's one of very few Marvel movies that we have where the hero doesn't really entirely win in the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Where does that in this?
I was gonna say, where are we at?
A is where I have it currently.
I'm vetoing it up.
You guys want me to use my veto so you can use yours, don't you?
Gotta get him. You won't.
You won't. Like, I know it's an unpopular opinion. I'm okay with it being an S tier. I just have my personal problems with it that it's unredeemable. Well, it's not unredeemable, but
Everything's redeemable with Christ. Jesus juke.
Woo! That's
we'll
why
see
we're here,
what
folks.
they do with his character moving forward. But like at the end of this, I was just like, what? The junk.
This segue's a little late, but speaking of personal problems, our next thing is Moon Knight, a series that follows Stephen Grant, a mild-mannered gift shop employee who is blacking out, not remembering what happens, wakes up in places he does not remember going to, and he finds out he shares his body with Mark Spector. They are both the Moon Knight / Mr. Knight, and they eventually must team up to fight evil and save the world. For me, what did I put this? Moon Knight's it's a B tier for me. I really like Oscar Isaac in this. I feel like he acted his heart out. And I really enjoyed that. I like what they did with the suits, both for Mr. Knight and Moon Knight. And then for Scarab, at the end, I liked those suits. I feel like they did cool stuff there. This did one of my least favorite things, which is the characters don't know something happened, so we didn't have to choreograph the thing that would have been really cool to watch. Especially once we get to the final fight, where both Steven and Mark pass out, and then Scarab is like, how did you do that? And it's like, well, what did he do? We did not get to see the cool thing that just occurred. And so that B tier from me. Chris, what do you think?
I really enjoyed this. There are some cool kind of thriller aspects, or like you're trying to figure out what's actually going on. Especially with the main character. It's a solid B. I do have some gripes. Just like also once again, kind of with that Eternals thing, we have like this underlying theme of these great Egyptian gods that have these powers. What happened within the overall universe during the during the dusting and everything, I don't know. It's just not addressed, and there's no acknowledgement. So I'm like, how does this fit? But all in all, I really did enjoy things. It was once again, like with these series, they are experimenting in a way that I'm really enjoying. And I feel like Moon Knight did a great job with that. For the most part, I'm still like within that experimentation. There's some kinks to obviously work out, but yeah, I'll give it a B tier.
Shani?
I can't believe you all right now. This is an S tier for me. It is. I genuinely don't know if I love this or WandaVision more. It was so good. I love the Egyptian mythology. Oscar Isaac is absolutely incredible. Um, it yeah, it never felt like he was acting like, I don't know, he was just like genuinely two different people, and it was so good. And the use of lost time was amazing. Those time blackouts, and like as we get past the first couple episodes, I was like, oh man, like that was kind of my favorite part. Like, how are they going to continue that? And then they did, and it still was so good. And yeah, it was just amazing. S tier.
Emma?
I love me a good, reliable unreliable narrator. Everything is a reliable narrator until it's an unreliable narrator. And this is a good, unreliable narrator. Very well done in the grand scheme of things. The only reason I didn't finish this was because it was in the middle of the school year, but I am halfway through the 5th episode of 6 episodes. So, I'm pretty proud of myself in that regard. I really enjoyed this series. I'm with Janine, and just it felt really well thought out and arced, and um I haven't seen the end of it, obviously, so I can't make all of the judgments and say it's an S tier until I've seen the end. So for right now, it sits at a solid A.
I'll agree, for the most part. Like the main reason why it got docked for me is I'm still trying to figure out how it fits in to the overall MCU. It's just things get docked because of that. You're supposed to be part of this bigger story. I need to know what's going on. But it was really good.
In chat, Bad Gamer Elite says Moon Knight A tier, great mysteries. Racial Tension says Oscar Isaac's acting was insane. He really felt like two people, and the use of lost time was awesome. And then Queen Skywalker says Moon Knight is probably her fave.
Yeah. Also better horror elements than something coming up.
Hey.
Speaking of something coming up, that brings us to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Following the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange is still out casting spells, doing stuff. But plot twist, it's a different Doctor Strange this time. And we get introduced to America Chavez, who has the powers to punch her way through realities and enter different universes. Through this, she teams up with our Doctor Strange and Wong as they seek to stop Scarlet Witch from stealing her powers so that she can go be with her kids. Chris, what do you think?
Gosh, this is on a very low line that I'm trying to figure out. Again, Marvel with the genre advertising and not fulfilling BS that is their main movies now. It's like I almost want to give it a D, but we'll give it a C. Mostly because there are redeeming aspects within the overall MCU. I did like America. I just gosh, just so annoyed that it wasn't the horror film that I wanted. That there weren't very like good thriller aspects or anything. Pretty much, it's a horror by aesthetic only, which is fine. Really, it really comes down to how they cut the movie. They could have done so much better, but no, they just leaned too heavily onto the traditional Marvel action sequences and everything. All the characters are fine. Yeah, we'll give it a C.
Shanine, what do you think?
Yes, much like Chris, I was so excited to see what a Marvel horror film would look like. And alas, here I am still wondering. Um,
So sad, right?
It really is.
I was real excited for some more Benedict Cumberbatch, real excited for more Scarlet Witch, and I guess technically we did get those things.
Just not how we wanted it.
I think that if they had sticked with the Scarlet Witch attacking Professor X aesthetic for the whole movie, we would have had a really good horror movie.
Oh my goodness.
Or
have that be the reveal that she's the actual villain.
Exactly. That's also what I was going to say.
I think
I feel like someone brought that up as an example during a spoiler cast.
Yeah.
They revealed her as the villain way too
too
early and would have done better to,
Yeah.
I don't know, keep it suspenseful like a horror movie. I did like the multiversal stuff that we got to see. John Krasinski, which was wild and I was not at all expecting, and Captain Carter, and those things were very fun. But yeah, overall, very, very disappointing. Wanted more spoops. C tier.
Emma,
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch lend themselves so well to the horror theme. So well. Their powers and their, stories just lend to that spookiness, and it fits. They fit right into that theme. But Marvel was trying to do too many themes at once. They needed to focus on either the more multiverse-ness or the horror. I, like everyone else here, was so excited to get a Marvel horror movie because that just sounds cool and awesome, especially with these two characters. And we did, all it really did was reference horror movies.
Right?
That's really when you just take the horror aspects of it, all they do is reference horror movies.
It's horror adjacent.
It's horror. It's not even horror. It's just horror references. And it's like, no, that's not what horror is. You don't reference other horror movies and call yourself a horror movie. That's not how this works. It's not. So that really, it was cool that they were referencing horror movies, but they were promising a horror movie, and they didn't give us that.
Should have been directed by Jordan Peele. That's who should.
I would have been down for that, actually.
Had do this movie, honestly.
Yeah.
And
it was just I love Doctor Strange. I almost called him Captain Strange, and I was like, that's not right.
Different multiverse.
Different multiverse.
Multiverse hasn't even been addressed.
He would be so insufferable.
Seriously. I enjoy Wanda, Scarlet Witch, and I was so excited to be like, okay, let's bring these two get together, and it just fell short of what it was promising to be. I also think the villain reveal was way too early. Um, they could have even just cut that out and left everything else in and been pretty much like it would have made the movie 10 times better. But this sits at a C, a low C. Well, not a low C, like a medium C that's trembling. So it's a C. It's just a C.
I don't have a ton to add on this. This is C for me. As I said in our spoiler cast, and as Emma just said, this should have been multiverse or it should have been madness. I really don't like how they split the difference there. I'll disagree with what Chris said earlier. I think they should have, if they wanted to not do horror, they should have gone even more into the Marvel action. Like, I feel like this tried to walk the line and did neither of the things very well.
Yeah, like so, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
You advertised it to me as horror though, so
right.
That's
problem. Like the big thing here. I said it in our spoiler cast. I actually got spooked by some of this. Like some of the jump scares. There's not actually any like real suspense or anything, but like some of the jump scares got me because this was originally pitched as the first horror movie, and they walked that back. They changed directors, they did all of this stuff. So I went in expecting normal MCU, and I'm like, oh, jump scare. This isn't Miss Minutes. Just to bring that back from the beginning of this. But yeah, C tier from me. Let's get into our last of the released Disney Plus shows with Miss Marvel, a series that follows Kamala Khan, a Muslim American teenager growing up in Jersey. She's a huge nerd, huge fan of superheroes, specifically Captain Marvel. And then she eventually finds out that she has powers and there's a mutation in her genes. So, Shanine, what did you think of Miss Marvel?
I was kind of surprised by Miss Marvel. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of it, but I enjoyed it. Kamala was a really great character. I enjoyed her and her family dynamic. I loved seeing the representation. I learned some stuff, which was fun and interesting. There was some pretty obvious shout outs that were there for the millennials watching, which was fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think solid B.
Emma, what'd you think?
I have seen an episode and a half. All I can really say is it's fun so far. Definitely has surprised me in many ways. And I agree with the overall assessment in the car scene of Bollywood movies because those are my guilty pleasure. It's fun so far. I'm gonna say a B that may or may not change once I actually finish the series.
So for me, I really liked Miss Marvel. I was very scared of this. I really enjoy the character. This is one of the characters that I really feel like I have a view from the comics that I was very curious, especially with the changing of her powers and stuff like that. That was something that I really did not think looked good when they first revealed it. But I really liked the execution. I feel like the characterization here is so good. I liked what Aman did as Kamala. I liked a lot of the side characters. I do feel like the Veil plot line is pretty weak. But I really liked that the real villain was was damage control. There we go. And I really liked that small scale threat. Kind of the same things there that I said about Hawkeye. I really liked the way that that played out. So for me, this sits at like a low A. Um, Again, there's definitely parts that I feel like are weak, but I also loved the style of this show. I feel like this is another one that's a very beautiful show. There's a lot of details in the background. The way that they do the credits and texting and the coloration of scenes is super cool. So yeah, A for me. Chris?
For me, this is a D. No, I'm just kidding. Again, major points for representation, like on especially on kind of a controversial topic. That is really well represented. Well, I love the overall Muslim community that's represented here. As well as I really like Kamala's friends a lot. They are probably one of my favorite things about this. Kamala herself gets on my nerves a little bit at times. Just like, oh my gosh, like talk about a dramatic teen drama. Like that, the drama she's experiencing is all her own fault, kind of situation. And to contrast Never Have I Ever, like as we were discussing earlier. It's like you have actual drama in your life that you should worry about, but alas, here we are worrying about the non-important things when it comes to Kamal. But all in all, really great. I love her family. I love our trip and her grandmother that we get to see, and yeah, solid A for me on this one. Looks like I need to make a new tab. It was what, 2 B's, 2 A's?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the next one? I'll just use my veto to keep it as an A.
Okay. This is any other vetoes?
It's just
Final.
trying to make less work for me. I'm sorry.
Aren't our averages supposed to round up anyways?
Oh, well, when they're like split evenly like they are currently, we usually do a plus. Like we did with WandaVision.
It's been inconsistent.
We're just rounding up.
For the most part, we round up, but we haven't had like a true split up until WandaVision. It's usually been 3-1 or something carrying. Something else that rounds it up ultimately, but
Final released project or mainline project of Phase 4, Thor: Love and Thunder. We get the return of Thor, Jane Foster, and friends like Valkyrie and Korg as we explore the universe to stop Gore the God Butcher. We get introduced to the Greek pantheon, and as well as Thor's quest to get his hammer back. Emma, what did you think of this one?
Wasn't as great as 3, but it wasn't terrible. Long story
That's
short.
indeed the scale.
So we literally have an S tier movie at 3.
I know. It is
but it
not
wasn't
an S.
terrible. So like I don't know where that is on the rest of the scale,
Okay.
but like so
Okay.
comparing it to the S tier.
Okay.
Two different bars there.
I would say it's a strong B. Strong B. I love it. But clearly the third one is an S tier. I feel it may sound horrendous to say it, but I kind of feel like the Taika novelty is wearing off, and it was started showing that it was wearing off a little bit, but it was still funny and great. Had some great moments. Feeling a little iffy on the whole Jane Foster plotline. don't entirely know what to think about that, but yeah. It,
Did you say a letter? Sorry.
I said B, strong
Okay.
B.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure I just didn't have like made that up. So for me, I enjoyed Thor: Love and Thunder. As I said in our spoiler cast, like I fully expected a lot of the jokes to get old, and I know for some people they did. For me, they did not. I loved the goats. I
Yeah.
loved the Stormbreaker Mjolnir thing. I really enjoyed Jane Foster, getting to see Mighty Thor. Um, as I said in our spoiler cast, my biggest complaint here is that I really wish we would have gotten more Valkyrie and Korg. I really, especially with a lot of what Jane's going through, I think would have been brought out a lot better had we gotten to see more of her as Thor. I'm still holding out for an announcement of a Disney Plus series that follows her.
That would be great.
Because I think that would be super fun. I want them to release the Taika cut. Give me the 4-hour version of this movie that had like whole characters that got scrapped. So
I would be down for that.
yeah. But with all that said, I do think this is a B for me as well. Again, I did really enjoy the plot, but it doesn't hit nearly as hard as a lot of the other movies that or series that I hold above this. So, Chris,
For me, and kind of like, so this goes kind of back to Moon Knight. So we know gods exist, but in this movie, we didn't get any acknowledgement of the Egyptian gods that we know exist. Where are they at? I did like the characterization of the gods, and it was a lot of fun. I don't think when it comes to Thor that the Taika novelty is wearing thin yet. Honestly, I just give him all the Thor movies from here on out. I don't want him to take on like other Marvel projects.
He just gets Thor movies.
Just Thor movies exclusively. He just handles the tone of and personality of Thor so well. And I just love the humor, especially the opening with him when he's leaving the Guardians. I dream of those scenarios. It's just so good, and it just reminds me, like, it brings me back to that ideal period of Thor Ragnarok and in Infinity War. Like, just Thor's character just fits so well. But yeah, it's this movie is, granted, I don't think the Taika novelty. I think this movie is a novelty in the sense that it gave us a really fun story arc for Thor, but this movie does ultimately feel like it still kind of stands alone within the rest of, especially within the rest of this phase, which I'm all for now. But yeah, I'll agree with a B rating on this one.
Janine, final thoughts for MCU Phase 4?
I mean, yeah, I pretty much agree with what everyone has said about it so far. The humor was on point. So good. Love Taika. As a Taika movie, it was brilliant. As a Marvel movie, I think I would have wanted a little bit more of certain elements, like with the gods and the God Killer and all that kind of stuff. Would have enjoyed a little bit more of that. But yeah, overall, hilarious. So good.
I do have to say, the little girl at the end who he adopts is Chris Hemsworth's actual child. I just have to say that. Carry on.
Yeah, B tier as well for me. High B, but not quite an A.
That might be the first time we've all agreed.
Wait, what did you give Black Widow, Cameron?
Oh, I did give it a D.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
was like,
Yeah.
You're right.
like I think we agree more often than we expect, for the most part.
Yeah.
Except for the spicy takes.
So we're going to zoom through our post-phase questions. If you had to watch one movie from this phase right now, what would it be? It's Spider-Man No Way Home from me. Chris?
Ooh, sorry. Trying to pick out all the movies now. Or just one piece. Or
You can watch,
just-
or one
because
series.
like
or,
this is our first phase where we have
Yeah.
other
we
things,
have
things
have
other than
shows. If you had to watch one thing, one property right now, which one would it be?
Oh man. You know what? I'm probably gonna go watch Shang-Chi. Just because it needs more watches.
Janine?
I think Spider-Man No Way Home for me as well.
Emma?
I think I would finish Moon Knight and then go watch Thor.
The next one is, who is your favorite villain from this phase? Chris, who do you think?
I'm going through the villains now. Um, ooh,
I'll go. I got mine ready. For me, it was Agatha all along. Do 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 do. Yeah, we didn't talk too much about that, but one of the greatest travesties of the MCU Phase 4 is that we get a full "I Could Do This All Day" song, and we never got a full release of Agatha all along. I mean, I liked "I Could Do This All Day," but I would like the full, or like a full Agatha all along. So here's my hope for House of Harkness. So, Chris, did you get yours?
yeah, I almost have to agree with the Agatha. I will say that I think Gore had the most potential though, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's it's also one unfortunately coming out of Thor is that we don't get like there was wasted opportunity with him, but like I really like him as a villain.
Janine?
Agatha for me as well, with a special call out to Green Goblin.
Yep. Emma?
Agatha for me as well, with a close second by Gore.
Final one. What is a big thing from this phase that sticks back at you looking back? Obviously, we're not done. We do still have She-Hulk, Attorney at Law coming out later this week. Then we have Black Panther, Wakanda Forever,
Right.
and Wakanda. Then we have the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming in December. And then apparently, according to Wikipedia, there's also a Halloween special coming out. It says Untitled Halloween special.
If that's the case, they're keeping it under real good
So,
wraps.
I don't know if that's
Or
real.
Their marketing department is terrible.
Yeah. So I'm questions about that, but it's in the wiki. So here we are. So what's one thing from this phase that stands out? I'll go for me. I want to echo what I said earlier, talking about the internals. I definitely feel like there was some confusion around how to handle what should be in a Disney Plus series and what should have been a movie. There's, while I think that becomes less evident the more that we watch, definitely in that some of those earlier portions, I really wish that we would have seen some flips around what was a series versus what was a movie.
we don't know what genres are.
I think overall for their big break into TV format is really strong. Like really the only franchise in the past that's done anything like this is DC. Um, doing both movies and TV. And the DC TV shows are infinitely better than the movies, but there's just like no crossover between the two. Whereas here with Marvel, their break into doing the TV format was overall really strong between what we have. Like none of the shows really were bad in any way, shape, or form. Plus, they do a relatively decent job of carrying on the Marvel spirit.
Um, I think just experimentation. They tried a lot of different things. Some of it was a hit and some of it was not. But I liked that they were
Trying.
And then I skipped over this one, but how would you rate this phase? Letter grade on our scale. You do not have to. This is not an average of what you voted for the films. So, for me, I think this is a high B. I mean, I got made fun of last time for just handing out S tiers for phase 3. But I think that there's definitely, I think there's a lot of A's and B's in this phase for me. Or at least those are the ones that stick out. So yeah, strong B.
I feel like this one just barely made it into B tier for me. Like just barely.
To C for me. Yeah. They need to just commit when they experiment. Please. It's not hard.
It's not.
I don't know. Like, I guess a default of B is ups and downs. It sure has those.
It sure has. Okay. Then we are going long, but the last thing I like to talk about is box office. What film do y'all think did the best this phase in the box office?
Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That should be a pretty obvious one.
How much better did Spider-Man do in the box office than number 2, which was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness?
A lot better. I would
100 million. I don't know.
I'd say 75.
Janine, what do you think?
I don't know. How much did Spider-Man make?
So Spider-Man did billion with a B more than Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Blowing in almost exactly $1 billion more. At $1.9 billion or $1.9 billion. Doctor Strange sitting at $954 million. So and then this should not be surprising. What would y'all think was the lowest box office film for this phase?
Eternals.
Black Widow.
Or Black Widow. One of those two. But I would say Eternals.
I'm saying Black Widow due to the streaming release.
Eternals.
I think to Chris's point, Black Widow is the lowest theatrical release. Not by much though. I mean, it's a lot of money, a lot more than I'll ever have, but by about $20 million less than Eternals. So Yeah, that is going to bring us out of our MCU Phase 4 tier list. We will return after we have seen She-Hulk, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Untitled Halloween thing. We'll see. And I guess technically I Am Groot is part of Phase 4 or as part of this release schedule. So we'll have to take a look at that one as well. So we'll do that end of the year after we have had those other releases. So announcements. Our next book club, Spider-Man Social Dilemma, is going to be on August 25th, a week and a half away. So get reading on that if you haven't started already. Cough, Cameron, cough. And so I don't anticipate this being a long one, but
Nope.
I have not started. And so, yes, we are First Geek 411. You can find us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can join our Discord server if you want to chat between shows. You can also shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com or head over to our Redbubble store. Watch live on Twitch, 6:45 Mountain Time. Be part of the post-show chats. And then find the videos over on our YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And then if you want to talk with us, you can also do that on our personal social medias, where you can go to find out what Emma thought of the rest of these things. Does the final episode of Moon Knight change things?
Y'all will know
knows?
once I finish.
And so
I have a busy life.
yeah. And so you can find me all over the internet as Humar Whittle.
I am not prepared with an I.
I'm the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES on Instagram.
And I'm not so foreign.
It's been a great week.
Drink some water.
Wash your hands.
Read a book.
I love you.